What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, Coach Mike Dove, here with another edition of Lockdown Defense Sports Studio. And of course, it's time for your weekly Commanders recap. This is where we break down everything last week that happened with the Commanders and then also give you guys a preview of what you can look for this upcoming game, this week's matchup, week 11. Of course, we're an international game and we're keeping things moving. So, before we get started, listen, I know if you have been following the NFL, if you've been following the Commanders or anything else to do with the NFL this season, you probably are wondering, what happened? How did the season go left so far? How many games have we lost so far? I think, we've lost maybe 4 or 5 games in a row, something like that. And it just hasn't been pretty. It's been blowout after blowout. It hasn't looked good. And you're probably thinking to yourself, coach is probably going to go off on a tangent and probably, going to talk about how terrible this team is and rip the team apart and call for people's heads and all those other things like that. No, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm looking at it from an objective point of view. I'm looking at it from a coach's standpoint. I'm looking at it from a fan's point of view. And when I say fan, I don't mean a fanatic where, we overreact to the bad and overreact to the good. I mean, from an objective point of view, where I'm looking at the sustainability of the franchise. So, uh, yes, it's not been pretty. Yes, the games have not been good. Yes, our talent is not where we needed to be. There's a big discrepancy between where we were this time last year and where we are this year. However, uh, I'm here to give some type of insight as to what we can look forward to going forward, what needs to happen for us to have a successful culture going forward as a team and as a pro and as a organization, so that we can get to that level to where the games and the outcomes will play itself out. We're not there yet as an organization. Obviously, roster issues have plagued us. Injuries have plagued us. Age has plagued us. There are a lot of different things that we can say have contributed to the lack of success this year. But once again, it's all about what we can do about this going forward. So the season is not completely lost. I'm not a guy that likes to talk tank and thinking about, completely giving up on the season. Not at all. As long as we have guys on this team, as long as we have, our quarterback of the future and our ownership of the future, this organization is going to continue to press forward. It's just a matter of how we're going to get there. So let's start out by breaking down some a tough game for us, another tough game, another double-digit loss. This time to the Detroit Lions, who we knew was going to be a tough matchup. This team is hot right now. They're running the ball well. They're playing good defense. In general, for the most part, they pretty much picking up where they left off at the middle of the season last year. I talked about the running the ball. Jameer Gibbs had another great game. And my keys to victory last week, I talk about how it was important for us to tackle the ball carrier and not let them get a lot of yards on contact. We struggled with that. This was an ugly game for us, not only on the scoreboard side, but just composure wise, specifically on the defensive side. It wasn't a good game from a coaching standpoint. We saw a lot of the similar issues that we saw with miscommunications in the secondary. I talked about missed tackles, just with either blown coverages or just, complete busts as far as the secondary goes. And you started to see the frustration on the guys. And it's clear that there is some frustration that's bubbling over into the games. We saw Deron Payne get kicked out and probably suspended for this upcoming week. We also saw Javon Kinlaw, have a run in with an official. It was clear to see that it looked like our defense and subsequently our team was unraveling, which was alarming. It's alarming because, once again, you talk about a culture standpoint. And what's just as important as winning games is establishing a culture going forward, because the games are going to matter right now and the games are going to matter for this season. But what's just as important is what's your team culture going to be going forward for next season and the season after that? What's going to be your staple? What's going to be the norm for you guys? And if the norm is going to be when things get hard, because inevitably there are going to be some games that we lose in the future. It might not be this many, it might not be this many blowouts, but inevitably there are going to be times where we're matched up against opponents that just have the better day. And if our culture is to implode and to have, just meltdowns and crash outs, then it's going to be a tough stance going forward. However, if we can regain this locker room, regain our composure, and figure out something positive to get going towards the end of the season, then I think that this could be a turning point for us going forward. So, tough game for us, tough loss. Of course, injuries are still a problem for us. We were without Jane Daniels, without some of our wide receivers, tons of other positions that we were missing, and we weren't able to keep up. So once again, this was a tough game. We knew was coming into it. As always, we do not reward players in the game after a loss. So it's been about 5 weeks that we've had a player of the game in one of our segments, but that's okay because we're going to get there. I don't think we've seen our last win of the season. There still are some positive things that we can take from each week on a week to week basis, and that's what we're going to focus on. So, shout out to the Detroit Lions for getting their payback from that playoff loss. They definitely came in hungry. They came in ready to go. They're positioning themselves for a run in the NFC North. Meanwhile, we're struggling to just keep our heads above water and try to compete in the second half of the season. So that being said, we are on the road or in the air, I should say, as we go to our overseas matchup, something that we've circled on the calendar for a long time because we'll be playing in Spain. That's right. This is the finale of the NFL's international series. We've seen games in Germany, games in London, games all over the world. And this time we have the pleasure of playing in Spain against the Miami Dolphins, who is probably one of the better matchups in the NFL right now for us, even though they're coming off of a very strong win over the Bills. A very probably one of their best performances, if not their best performance of the season. But we got them next. And we're going to break down the matchup. We're going to talk about why this is probably one of the more favorable matchups. Not saying that it's a favorable matchup in general with all of our injuries, it's not many, but it's probably one of the more favorable matchups, not only on our schedule, but at this point in the season for us to go against. Neutral site game, of course, beautiful stadium where Real Madrid plays at in Madrid, Spain. So it's definitely a great experience for our guys, but it's all about the game and all about what we're going to have to do in order to win this game. So, we normally go over X factors. Who are going to be the guys that need to play well in order for us to win? This week, we're doing something a little different. Clearly, the X factors we've been putting out for the last few weeks haven't been much of a factor anyway. So we decided to switch it up a little bit. And we're going to go with our number one X factor, our defensive coordinator. Yes, Joe Witt Jr., who's been under so much scrutiny this year, rightfully so. When the defense isn't playing well, you can look at the players, but ultimately, it's going to come down to the coaches. They're going to be the ones that have to fall on that sword. And this has not been a good year for our defense and for Joe Witt. I mentioned time and time again how many miscommunications, how many busted coverages, how many times we guys just look out of position, specifically in the secondary, and then also sometimes in the run fits. We haven't really played well in the front seven. How we started the season out, our first few games, I was really excited about our defensive line, how well they were playing, and then just towards the middle of the season, things have tapered off, and we haven't looked good across the front in any way, shape, or form. I will say there have been games where guys have been in position and just haven't made plays. And when you get that, that's not on the defensive coordinator or any coaches. When your guys are in position and not making plays, i.e., Marshawn Lattimore, some other times it's happened as well, then it's not all on the coaches. So there's been shared responsibility. We're not here to say that Joe Witt is solely responsible for the demise of this defense and the bad play of this defense. But what I will say is, in order for us to win this week, we're going to have to shake things up a little bit on our defense. We're going to have to see some different things. I would like to see some of our younger guys, some packages that involve some of those young rookie linebackers. I think we drafted two rookie linebackers this year. The guys that we have, Frankie Louisville and Bobby Wagner, as much as I respect them and as much as they meant to this team, specifically last year, and their veteran leadership and their energy, they have just not played well. They've struggled in coverage, they've struggled in the run fit. It looks like we're going to have to start looking at other options as far as the roster goes. And what better way to find out what we have than to let our guys, get in there and try to shake things up, try to put them in different packages. It doesn't have to be, completely starting all over again and benching the older guys, but I would love to see some more packages with some of those young linebackers specifically, just to see what we can get from them. And I understand they've had all camp, they've had all practice reps and scout team to show what they have. And I'm a firm believer that if Guys don't prove it in practice. There's a reason why they haven't been able to show it on game day. But at this point, we're grasping for straws, and I would love to see us switch it up. I would love to see us be a little bit more aggressive on defense, send some more blitzes, especially going against the Dolphins, who have a struggling offensive line. We know Tua is, of course, not the best under pressure. So let's dial it up on them. Let's dial it up on them. Let's try to get a little bit more aggressive. I do not want to see us play this game, sit back and just play zone the whole time, and sit back and just let them pick us apart in that zone coverage. I don't want to depend on that. Maybe we adjust, maybe we do it, whatever we need to do. But I would like to see us just get a little bit more aggressive and be a little bit more hands on with our defense. And maybe Dan Quinn gets a little bit more involved as well. We'll see what that looks like going forward. But Joe Witt, I think I won't even say your job is on the line. I would be very surprised if you came back next year in general. But I would like to see us end the year with a good showing. And then let's see what we can do on that defensive side of the ball. And as for our offense, I mentioned this last week. We are starting to kind of go with a running back by committee. It seems like between Bill and Chris Rodriguez, but I think Chris Rodriguez has surpassed Bill as our most productive back, and he's been running the ball well. And I think we're going to have to lean on him a little bit more. Still get some production from Bill, but Chris Rodriguez, keep feeding him, and let him be the lead back, and let's ride this thing into a clock control game and get some positive yards on the ground. So that being said, what are our keys to victory this week? Number one, I mentioned it before, aggressive defense. Aggressive defense, not only with our play calling, but aggressive defense with various looks, various packages, switching things up so that, the offense can not get comfortable back there. We don't want Tua to get comfortable. We want them to be guessing. We want to keep them, from being able to dial up whatever they want to dial up whenever they want to dial it up. So let's be aggressive. Let's go after them. Let's get after them. Also neutralizing A chain. I know that's easier said than done, but listen, sometimes we have to circle some guys and say, all right, anybody can beat us this week, but not him. I would feel a lot more comfortable if A Chain was not the guy to beat us. Maybe Waddle has a big game, hopefully not. Maybe some other guys have a big game, hopefully not. But I would not feel good if A Chain run out and did what he's been doing last week and what he's been doing for the rest of the year. That would tell me that we didn't even game plan for him. So I don't want A Chain to beat us. Let's neutralize them. Let's make sure that they're going to have to put this game into his hands if they're going to want to win this game. I don't trust it. I think that we have a better chance going against that than we do if we let A Chain run wild. And finally, let's force those turnovers. Tua, we mentioned before, if we put the game in his hands, he's shown a subjective, ability to be able to turn that ball over from time to time. And the best way to play defense is to not be on the field. So let's take possessions away from them, and let's try to capitalize off of them. So I feel pretty decent about this week. I think this is an opponent that we match up well with for the most part. It's the NFL; anything can happen. So by no means am I discouraged by the season. Am I counting us out? I think that this could be a win that we can get and possibly turn it into something more. We'll see. But right now, let's just focus on doing what we got to do to get this win. So let us know what you all think. Comment, share, like. Catch us on some of our other channels and some of our other previews this week. We have our Chiefs Insider, of course, with the real AG, and then of our Chargers Insider with Robert Garcia as well. And you can catch the Electric Shot podcast, all kinds of things, all kinds of content, everything to keep you locked in all week long for the NFL season as we get into the second half of the season and really almost the home stretch. So looking forward to hearing from you guys. Looking forward to seeing your comments and seeing you share whatever it is. And yeah, hopefully we can get this win. So without further ado, yours truly, take care.